Welcome to Teal Talk, an ovarian cancer podcast from the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. Here, experts, survivors, and advocates share knowledge and inspiration for every step of your journey. Subscribe and follow us on social media at NOCC National. This episode is brought to you by our generous sponsors, GSK and Merck. Hello, and welcome to Teal Talk, an ovarian cancer podcast from the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. I'm your host, Jennifer McClendon, and today we're honored to share another story from our Stories of Inspiration series, stories that remind us that even in the face of ovarian cancer, there is strength, there's resilience, and there's hope. And each survivor's journey is so unique, but by sharing these experiences, we really hope that others feel less alone, more understood, and more hopeful about what's ahead. So today we're joined by a survivor who has generously offered to share us her story and what this journey has taught her, the support that's made a difference, and the hope that continues to carry her forward. And her name is Hope. So Hope, welcome, and we are so grateful to chat with you today. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Yes, as you said, my name is Hope. So Hope Aguilar is my actual full name. No middle name. I like to say that, just Hope. And I am about to be 55 years young, coming up in a couple of weeks, actually in a week. I'm so happy to still be here because my journey started 14 years ago in December of 2011, shortly before my 41st birthday. And so something that I am grateful for every day. Like I said, the journey started in December 2011 with a late diagnosis of ovarian cancer. And I never realized it until I talked to Dr. Richardson, the amazing Dr. Richardson, that it's high-grade serous ovarian cancer. Very aggressive from what I remember her telling me. And so just to let you know that there is a lot to my journey, and there's 14 years and I've had it 3 times. And I know we can't really condense it or summarize it in 20 minutes, but I'm going to do my very best. But yeah, so it started in 2011 and went through the surgery, the debulking, the total abdominal hysterectomy, and then the 5 gruesome months of IP chemo treatment, which was in the abdomen, where the port was in the abdomen. And it was excruciating. It was rough. We didn't know how it was going to go. I think everybody thought it was not going to go well because it was just caught so late, because I looked so bad when I finally went in. I looked 9 months pregnant. I had 8 liters of fluid in me by the time they got me to surgery. I think the people that were very scared for me were also the ones that were praying for me and just being there for me every day, checking in. And that person included my mother, who was my caregiver. And that really got me through it, just knowing that there were so many people praying for me, that there were so many people hoping that I was going to get past this, and knowing that I'm such a positive person. And well, it's Hope. If anybody can get through it, it's going to be her, is what I've heard. And I did. I got through it, but it was no lie. No survivor will tell you. It wasn't an easy challenge, to say the least. It wasn't an easy battle. There was a lot of hard times and hard days. And it's something that I wrote in my book, and it's not necessarily a plug per se, but I wrote a book called Hope Through Cancer in 2014. And I wrote that it was a decision I had made after 5 months of treatment, that I decided to get off of the treatment because it was killing me. I felt like chemo was literally killing me. I had lost so much weight, and I was just so not good, if you would have saw me back then. And I made the conscious decision to not follow up with the 3 left for the IP chemo treatment. And the doctors at the VA, because I'm a veteran. And so I was being seen by UT Southwest, while at the same time I was being seen at the VA, the Veterans Affairs Hospital. So I was being shared by both. And the doctors out there, they were like, it's your decision if you want to choose to no longer take the treatment, but do us a favor, do 2 more in the arm, in the PICC line. And because your numbers are good, your CT scan results are good, everything looks good, that's all we ask. And I said, you know what, I'll give you those 2, because they're the 2 that don't make me so sick. But that's it. And Jennifer, I went almost 7 years with no evidence of disease.
That gives me chills. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking about, you mentioned challenge. So what do you think this whole process has really taught you about yourself?
Resilience. Honestly, I'm not one to be braggadocious by any means, but I know being raised by a single mom, number one, Latin Native American woman, excuse me. And she was just the example of a strong, independent, single mother. And so we had her to show us at a very young age, there ain't nothing you can't get through because you're seeing it. We're seeing it as her as the example, number one.
Yes.
Number two, I found my faith. I'm not a very religious person, but I'm quite spiritual, and I've always had a faith in a higher power who is God as a Christian. And so I clung to my faith. I'm a military veteran of the Navy and the Army and the National Guard in the middle. And then the last one, in some ways, I call it the fourfecta, not the trifecta, the fourfecta of why I'm still here is that I was raised by a single mother. I have such a strong faith in God. I was in the military, and my name is Hope. And that's what's I feel has continued to keep me here. And along with hope is optimism.
Oh my gosh.
So
I love that, Hope. I know. This is wonderful. Yes. I really appreciate you sharing that with us, that resilience, that strength that was modeled to you and then taught to you for such a time as this, So that's very inspiring.
Yeah.
How has the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition supported you through your journey?
I'm, of course, glad you asked me that. I didn't really know about NOCC too much before when I was first diagnosed in 2011. Of course, how could I? Because this is important to say that this was 2011. And so how could I know about symptoms, let alone organizations that might be out there? And then when you're in the thick of treatment, I will be honest, one of the things that somebody did give me advice on was try not to be too involved with some of those groups because it can be a bit daunting and can be might want to make you sad because women will die.
Emotional.
So you're emotional, right, being there. Yeah. And while you're fighting with the treatment, just try not to inundate yourself too much. So because of that, I honestly didn't go looking for any organizations that were there until after I got better. And I don't think I still had yet truly knew about NOCC, which is interesting because its headquarters are in Dallas and I'm a Texan and I'm right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Having said all of that, I discovered NOCC later on in my journey because this cancer returned 2 more times, and in 2019 and then in 2020. And so I'd already made contact with your organization, NOCC. I'm pretty sure it was after I wrote my book. Because from time to time, I'll send a check to the organizations. If I feel like I got enough to send from the book sales, I will send some money. And I know I may have sent already one check to y'all. And that was my first kind of experience with NOCC, is knowing that you exist and that you are doing amazing things in not just DFW, but around the country. You're not just in Dallas. And I think the first time that I got involved, as far as, yes, it's coming back. It's all coming back to me.
That's all good.
Ladies and gentlemen, menopause and going through a lot of chemo. That's what it does.
Yes.
But at least it comes back. So yes, I remember contacting y'all because of the book. And then when I did, y'all told me about the annual activities that you have.
The walk run, the programs.
And my first time was in 2014 because I was able to be a vendor, if you will, and sell some of my books at the event in 2014 when it was at the Texas Rangers Stadium, outside of that stadium. So that's when I first got involved with y'all. And then when it comes to what you did for me or how you helped me, is that you guys send a lot of emails, which is good because it's a reminder that you're there. It's a reminder how we can help, whether it be donating or other ways, and of your annual events. And so I got an email when my second, not my first, but when my second reoccurrence took place. It was during COVID. I had COVID. Unfortunately, I lost my mother to COVID. And so it was a lot of things going on. And I'm a single woman that lives by myself with my cat. And so when you're going through chemo, there's just, there's so much that you're going through and you don't have the energy, the wherewithal to do much. So NOCC, I contacted them and I told them about my recurrence, and they were like, we're going to send you food for a week and some socks and some other stuff. I can't remember all of what they said. I had meals ready to go sent to me for at least a week, I remember. And it was just so amazing, Jennifer, that I was able to have that. The NOCC provided that, not at any cost. They didn't say, hey, you got to give us some money in order for us to send you something. And that is why they're so amazing. And I credit them to feeding this very weak at that time person going through ovarian cancer.
That's what it's about. It's not just the emotional, it's all of the other things, the practical, the everything that we can do to help improve your quality of life. That's why we're here. Absolutely. And might I say, because my question to you was, can you share a moment when OCC gave you some sense of hope? But not going to get emotional, but meeting you has just been really transformational, really for me. When I met you at our Together in Teal this last year, just an incredible human being and just so positive and hopeful, and just everything that you've come through has given me hope. So Hope, really, thank you. Thank you.
You cry, I cry, girl. You cry.
I'm a crier.
I'm a crier too.
But
no, that's amazing. That's wonderful for you to say. And I just want to be somebody that can help others, even if it's making them laugh, if it's in my story. Laughter is medicine, Jennifer, and I definitely do like to default to that. I think I just love laughter and it helps. And I can't prove this definitively. I don't have the data. I don't have the money to fund any kind of survey, but I think laughter is what got me through all of this. Like the optimism that's like internally ingrained in my DNA. Like I really do look at the brighter side of things. And I don't know if I even try.
So important.
The crazy thing is like, I just feel like I just have always been that way. It's like, I don't let it stay. Like I don't let it fester and sit there and grow and grow. I just look at other ways. And innately, I just was like, okay, let's get through this journey. Let's get through this chapter. Let's get through this diagnosis. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Let's get through this day and let's get through this hour. You could teach us some lessons on that. That's a really great reminder. Absolutely. And I know, Hope, that you have a podcast. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what inspired you to do that podcast. It's wonderful, by the way.
Oh, you're so generous and kind. And no, I never paid her to say that, y'all.
No, she did not.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I wrote that book in 2014 as a way of giving back, about sharing my journey through the first bout of going through ovarian cancer. Never to think that it was, of course, ever going to come back, let alone twice, right? However, I didn't know that was going to happen. So I wrote that book, and I think I said it in the book, and I'll make sure to send you a copy for sure, or drop one off for you. But I wrote that I don't know if it's ever going to come back, but this is my way of trying to give back by sharing the story. Because I also was going back to Saudi Arabia, and I was in Saudi when I wrote the book. And when I went back to Saudi, another way that I was able to advocate was to share my story with the college I was at. So I was at a college of 2,000 women, and my colleague was there to help me, Miss Jovan. She was like, hey, I want to help you spread this awareness, because I had this burning in me, this desire to try to keep spreading, but I wasn't in America. So she said, why don't we spread here? All these women, not just the students, but the colleagues. And it was just phenomenal. But all that to say is that it was just this burning desire on top of the book. And then when I got back in 2018, cancer came back shortly thereafter in 2019. Okay. And I was like, okay, didn't have any symptoms, but it came back. And then it came back in 2020, had a lot of symptoms, came back, got through it, went through 6 months of treatment. And here I am. In 2024, I was 3 years in no evidence of disease. And I was like, is there other ways that I can reach people? Are there other ways that I can advocate? I can be a part of NOCC, spreading symptom cards, sharing symptom cards when I go out in Uber or Lyft, which is awesome, and sharing my story that way. But what else can I do? I think that's what going through all of this has left me, is what more can I do? And it hit me. Why not start a podcast? I got so many connections, right? I know so many women through this 14-year journey that I know on Facebook or that I've met in person. And I'm like, I could help, not just share my story, Jennifer, of course, but to help share the stories of those who have gone through it, because they're all interestingly different, right? Some that are just drop your jaw and when you hear their stories, and some that are like, holy cow, how are you still here? And even those who aren't still here I could try to share the story of who they were and the things that they did. And just the fact that they were here, even if they're not advocating, their name is worth sharing because they were somebody important to somebody. And that's a great platform. So long walk, but that's how I got to the podcast.
And tell us what your podcast is called.
Mine is Teal Time with Hope, and yours is Teal Talk.
I love it. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. So for someone who may be newly diagnosed, what would you, with your experience and all the things that you've gone through, what would you want someone with a new diagnosis to know?
What I would tell somebody that was newly diagnosed with ovarian cancer would be the things that, quite frankly, would have been told to me, that I didn't really get outside of the doctor in the ER going, you have massive tumors on both your ovaries that make us think you have ovarian cancer, and then wondering what is ovarian cancer. So I think I would go before that would be hoping that the woman would even know what ovarian cancer was, because that's why we talk, right? That's why we share. That's why we do this advocacy. So I would say first know what ovarian cancer is, so you know what symptoms to look out for, because when you do that, then you'll be, God forbid, if you didn't get it, you're diagnosed earlier rather than later. That's just so important for me to share, because I didn't have that. I didn't have anybody tell me anything about it. And we've come a long way, but we still unfortunately have so many women that still don't know. But aside from that, going back to what would I want a woman that's newly diagnosed to know is to be proactive. Just remember that you have a voice and that your voice matters, and to ask questions. I don't think I asked enough when you're almost like a deer in a headlight when you're being told you have it to begin with. But on top of, so you don't even know really what to think, how to think, what to ask. But it's important if you can try and have your caregiver or your spouse, your partner, your family, whomever is next to you, to be there and help you ask those questions if you have somebody. And questions like, just be real with me. I'm one of those people that, Jennifer, I want to know, what is this? I don't want you to tell me, oh, you have so many years or so many days to live, and I don't care about that. I just want to know, what can we do? What can I do right now? What's the best course of action for me? And I'm so glad that I had Dr. Richardson, because she didn't mince words. She was very direct, and I did appreciate that of her.
Sure.
But find a group if you really feel that some people feel better with groups. Some people feel stronger with a group. And there are so many groups on Facebook, not to mention, of course, you have NOCC. You have care packages for newly diagnosed women. Connect with NOCC, and NOCC will connect you to many places, or many ways rather, to help you navigate through a chapter that is undoubtedly one of the hardest chapters you may be going through in your life. You are not alone. I say that as much as I can, is we're never alone. You matter. Yes. Your voice matters. Your existence matters. And you are not alone. There are women that are there for you, organizations that are there for you. And NOCC is the first one that I would definitely recommend of those organizations. And have somebody there. Just, if you can, try to not let yourself be by yourself. I'm a very independent woman, Jennifer. I've had to navigate sometimes by myself, and I can do it. But it's always nicer when you have people there, because even though I can do it by myself, it's nice to have people that are there in your corner, that are there, that are positive people. Emphasis on positive people around you.
Absolutely. Hope, thank you so much for trusting us with your story and by sharing your journey. I know for a fact that you're helping others feel seen and supported and hopeful. So thank you. And to our listeners, no matter where you are on this journey, hope can take many forms. And sometimes it begins by hearing someone else's story, like Hope's. If you're seeking support or guidance or community or resources, we're always here. We're always available, and you are not alone. So thank you. And thanks for joining us for this Stories of Inspiration.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Teal Talk, an Ovarian Cancer Podcast. This program is made possible thanks to supporters like you, who help the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition bring connection, education, and hope to survivors and families nationwide. Learn more or donate at ovarian.org. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and take care.